Hello, visitors. This is a very different message I bring to you today. Um, there's no sweet coated way that I can describe what I'm going to describe now, except just to tell you, and let's go from there. So, I'm just going to say that, of course, you'll all be familiar with the long original whistleblower video that I did on the saga of Northcliffe 2, NC2. The tunnel system and my decades long involvement with investigating it. And of course, there's been since then further follow up videos and articles. It's a dynamic situation which is changing in direct proportion to the information that we've been putting out. NC2, it's a place that reaches way down into the depths of the Giza Plateau for a purpose not revealed or established fully yet. I've been able, despite the restrictions, to gather and document its evidence over decades, and I'm aware that its walls and spaces contain a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, and especially knowledge through exquisite and exotic illustrations. That volume of evidence is safeguarded and clearly records via date and time stamped photographs the progression of the rape of the system at the hands of those in charge. Well, in the last couple of days, the attention switched from the NC2 entrance below the old Harvard University, where that stood, and attention has switched to the blocked doorway at the corner of the middle pyramid. Um, and of course, I'd proposed that earlier radar survey images clearly pointed to the NC2 tunnel system meeting with that blocked entrance. And I supplied evidential pics, which is 2 or 3 posts back. They're still there. Then over the last couple of days, we learned of sudden official activity at that entrance under the cover of a temporary tent. Surprise, surprise. We put the spotlight on it, explained what it was about, and the Egyptians were forced to have to act. But what actually went on, we didn't know because the tent was put up. They did what they had to do. The tent's been taken down, and we're still trying to find out now. But we're pretty sure because we have had, from our own sources, we have had word back through. We know really what's going on internally. What I want to say to you is that we now know that it is indeed an NC2 connection. It's a backdoor to the NC2 system. And because it's further down into the system beyond that manufactured tube tunnel blockage, it sort of ventures into the territory of NC2, more closely observed by Henry Salt and Giovanni Caviglia a couple hundred years ago, who within that area saw colonnaded chambers, tunnels, going off in different directions. So we know we're within that area. Furthermore, we now know that through ground penetrating radar, the underground picture that you've seen with my posts, which is an artist's impression of an underground city being excavated and worked, that just perhaps that picture, it begins to resemble the impression of an underground city that we have intimated and hinted towards in the past. Now we may or may not know more about that, but we are confident that our intimations so far have not veered from being accurate all the way through. So you're just going to have to wait until we can consolidate some information and safeguard 1 or 2 people perhaps that would otherwise suffer potentially a heinous fate if they were suspected of having talked to anybody. You can't be too careful. We know that graphically. So I maintain my position to say that deep below Giza there is a proposed ancient city and repository. I propose, my own speculation, that it was built in the time of ancient ancestors who were advanced and who produced underground cities in Turkey, France, Bosnia, Italy, America, and elsewhere, even the Grand Canyon. And they were produced, in my estimation, opinion, they were produced out of a time of highly advanced technology when populations faced planetary catastrophe. And we're descended from them, survivors. But the desire by powerful, greedy, ruthless, soulless monsters in charge of the Egyptian hierarchy of antiquities have kept possession of the route to all of that potential at any cost that would lead to the techno power and the archived knowledge deep underground. They've been in charge and made sure that the route has been kept sterile by whatever heinous means necessary. Why else would hapless locals be recruited to an illegal dig for reasons beyond their expectations and end up heinously dead? Why else would solid stories be part of the folklore of the plateau right now for other explorer deaths in similar circumstances? You know, it came to our ears, and it came to our ears as apparently common knowledge. And why is it then that any new knowledgeable finds are made to disappear into oblivion and are never seen by the public? Last evening, here we go, I was alerted to another video from someone who had just visited NC2 system, the main one below the what was the Harvard building where the restaurant is. Their film footage was neither extensive nor particularly brilliant. It was extremely basic, and in that report, their report, it was bolstered by the fact that all of the report spaces were filled with an assortment of my copyrighted pictures over years taken inside the system. And there, of course, has been no contact to me nor requests to me for their usage. They've just been poached, plagiarized from my articles and used in this person's podcast video presentations. I've been in touch and we'll see what happens. But in any case, there's something far more sinister that comes out of this. I'll just say that the report pivots constantly around the nonsense, also the nonsense assertion by the owner that the system was a mineral or metal mine that went down deep into the plateau. A mineral mine. It's nonsense, absolute nonsense. But getting on to the real point of all of this, I was, however, able to extract another thing from the video, which has completely and utterly devastated me totally. Those of you who saw my earlier long video presentation and the models that I constructed, the scale models of all the levels of the chambers and the entranceway, those of you who saw that, you'll retain a memory, I'm sure, of those models and a bit of the layout. And the evidence of my own eyes, to me, determined that the reception chamber 1 and 2, the number 1 chamber, was involved certainly in some kind of initiation, perhaps as a rite of passage for those that were going down deep into the plateau, or into what I believe was there. That chamber, reception chamber 1, big chamber, 30 feet. Interesting, 2 different levels. Higher level going to a second level down below. The top level, solid bedrock, carved into various features, which I'll mention now. And I believe that it was an initiation of a chamber of incredibly high value and more information that had to be extracted scientifically and properly. Reception chamber 1 had, I found that it had a stone carved throne, which was carved at the upper level where it adjoined the lower level. So a person sitting on that carved stone throne, the feet would have been on the ground at the lower level. It would seat someone in front of a huge, long, illustrated altar stone. And the throne had a carved stone cushion with rebated grooves around the cushion, leading from a rear channel. And that channel emanated from a smooth bowl formed behind the throne and sort of carved out of the solid bedrock behind the throne, which was also carved out of that bedrock. And all around the surface of the bedrock exposed at the higher level was carved to different shapes, figures, animals, and so on. So it had the rebated grooves going around this cushion, this stone cushion, and the channel emanated from the smooth bowl that I mentioned already, formed behind the throne and under the centre of the altar slab, which itself rested on stone trestles carved from the bedrock. There was more and more and more evidence of the stratospherically important position that NC2 registered from our ancient past. I read enough from it myself after so much study, but clearly there was tons and tons more. And I hoped all that would come out, when all this was dealt with sensibly. But at any event, I was wrong. So I'm saying that we can be fairly assumed that there was a stupendously important prize. If we also fairly assume that there is a stupendously important prize deep within the plateau for men to be perhaps so important that perhaps men were murdered to keep a lid on it. Equally, that the prize would justify to the authority a reason to send men into NC2, probably recently, with wrecking bars and sledgehammers to wreak destruction on a biblical scale. Of course, followers would have to be deterred, wouldn't they? The attention that it's been able to draw so far, while they've been keeping caps on what's really down deeper, so important that all the things of importance that I've described to you historically to do with NC2 don't even rate. They can be damaged or whatever. So it's logical. Second choice would be to rape, wreck and block within the system as it is. And here's a brief inventory. Main reception chamber. Altar stone smashed. Throne smashed. Sections of wall everywhere smashed. Entrances to the second chamber smashed and blocked. The decorated and illustrated pillar between the entrances smashed. The way down to the deeper plateau smashed and blocked. The smooth concrete bowl beneath the centre of the altar smashed apart. The stone alongside torn across the upper levels so that you could not possibly now determine what on earth it was made for, to what purpose. It's been smashed. The big illustrated heart stone, which was alongside the forced main entrance, that's been thrown aside onto the top of the other rubble in the background to help block entry to the second reception chamber, which is blocked. It is blocked now. It seems that the desire to hold on to possession of the deep ancient underground potential outweighs any vestige of decency or respect for the people or to archaeology per se. And you know what? These wreckers, they were ordered to do this task. And how do I know? Because when I was last on the plateau, it's a little while ago, but for that only time I spoke with the director of the plateau about my research work. And at the time, I mean, he dearly wanted me to persuade me to just hand my NC2 research over to him. I said that I would come back to him on it. But he assured me that NC2 was now the most guarded place on the plateau, and he was the only key holder to a huge lock on the door, which I've seen and I know I've got photographs of. He would have had to unlock the gate for these commissioned thugs to have gone in to carry out their pure evil destruction within the upper part of the NC2 system. They smashed the hell out of it. Beyond belief. It's biblical. So I'm saying to you now, folks, there isn't any pleasure in the fact that I alone hold my own repository of evidence covering the treasure trove of NC2. Those in charge now have proved they are not worthy to manage even a bucket of sand. There truly is a huge void in my heart. And what happens next? They now have gained entry to the midsection of the system via the Kefren chamber. They're undoubtedly smashing everything to bits in there also to deter followers and before they get to their prize deeper down. So I'm just going to say, dear Egyptians, Egyptian friends out there, and Egyptian media out there, are you seriously going to stand back still and allow this dangerous charade to continue? Are you going to tolerate the situation where the monsters are stealing and destroying your heritage? All we can do is just keep exposing, and believe me, we have amassed a huge pile of fetid evidence belonging to these specific people. Their shame wouldn't even come close to a warming of their frigid hearts. I really feel like that. I feel devastated. I feel sick. But what I'm telling you is the truth. I've been through frame by frame to double check, even taking the frames and comparing them to my before and after pictures. That's why it's taken till now to get out there to you with this information. I've been checking, and I know that what I'm saying, what I'm describing, it's bang on. It's the truth. The authorities have had people in there, probably the hand-picked crew that's been involved elsewhere before in the system, to rape the place out. They've had them go in there, they've been smashing their way down, and God only knows, beyond that first initial area, down into the tunnel system itself, God knows what state they've left that in. Maybe they feel that because they've smashed and blocked the top section, they can leave the centre section, the midsection alone, because people can't get to it now. But then again, the story has been overcome by throwing the entrance in their face by the Kefren pyramid at the end of the radar imagery, the tunnels. And as we saw, within 12 hours, they got a team going in there with a tent covering the damned entrance. And, you know, we've tentatively, I can say, you know, we are aware of information to do with it all. We've got people at very high levels whose hearts are in the right place. So just watch this spot. We will keep exposing. This isn't about ego. This isn't about personal. For us personally, we've discussed this. From that aspect, we don't give a monkeys for all the sort of attention it's bringing. Unfortunately, one doesn't go without the other. You can't break this sort of news without actually showing yourself in front of the camera or exposing yourself in some way. And that's the position I really got to a point myself, saying, look, you just got to suck it up. You know, I don't like being in front of the camera, but for this, it doesn't matter. It's the information that matters, and what happens next that matters. Because Egypt, you have monsters in your midst. Do you hear me? They're running circles around you. They're destroying your heritage, your past, the glory that you're sitting on. They're possessing it for themselves. All those things that have been raped out, where are they? The things that we filmed in the past, where are they? Whose store have they gone to? Why has there never been any public declaration of their finding? I got lots of evidence and other things as well that will come out, but each in its own place. You know, I'll stop there now. I'm going to put this video, just put it through the process and whack it onto the site with just a couple of sample pictures to show you one against the other as to what I was faced with, what was shown in that video. Okay, thank you for listening, and God bless you all. Blessings for now. Richard out.